Brandhounder. Okay, I'm going to read through your module handbook for Fashion Engineering 1. As you'll see with your task list for this week, I would like you to unpack this brief. So we won't be doing it in class. I'll be reading through it, but you know how to unpack a brief now. So away we go. Let's get into it. So you can see this module number FA1S58 is this one for this module, FA being fashion, 1 being your year, and module 58, Fashion Engineering 1. Oops. Fashion Engineering 1. It runs from week 7 to 12, is worth 20 credits, and of course you've got myself and Sue running this module. Let's look into it. Okay, page 2, module aims. To introduce students to safe working practices required within a fashion workshop environment. Now, of course, our fashion studios are industrial workshops, so we're looking to see that you're able to work in those spaces safely. So that means using the correct equipment, wearing the correct clothing, and behaving in the appropriate manner. Now, given the global pandemic that's currently happening, this will also include appropriate COVID protective techniques. Number 2. To introduce students to a range of introductory garment construction and pattern cutting techniques. So some of you will already have some garment construction or pattern cutting practice, having studied textiles previously or fashion previously. What we're looking for is that you're able to do it from an industrial perspective. So not only that you can actually put something together, but you're able to do it in the way that the fashion industry does. Number 3, to introduce students to the properties of fabric, uses and construction types. So we will discuss fabric enough in this module for you to have an introduction to it, and we'll do a little bit of that in the very first week. But really for you to reflect every week on how the fabric that you're using to create your samples and create your products has an impact on the final outcome. And number 4, to introduce students to project management and systematic planning and recording of complex tasks. Now, this one is very, very important. This is a project management tool, and project management is really all about managing projects. Now, I know that really seems strange, but project management is a really key thing. It's not just managing your time, but managing your tasks and prioritizing tasks and all those kinds of things. Content summary. This is the first technical module of the course, and as such is designed to build the framework of technical understanding, systematic planning, and project management. Students will participate in workshops that will encompass pattern cutting, sewing, project management, and construction. Emphasis will be placed on introducing knowledge, awareness, and obtaining skills, techniques within a supportive and safe working environment. By problem solving and troubleshooting through the process of pattern cutting, toiling, sewing, and finish, students will gain appreciation for what is involved in the engineering of a garment. So you have 2 learning outcomes here. Demonstrate an ability to apply a range of sewing and pattern cutting techniques to a simulated industry standard. No, of course, we're not expecting you to be expert sample machinists or pattern cutters, but simulated industry standards so that you understand what's required at that level. So demonstrate an ability. So that is about evidence, so that you can do it. So that evidence is going to be recorded by you on a weekly basis, but also in the things that you create. Number 2, evidence an ability to systematically plan and document the production process from initial idea to final product. Now this one is very, very important, and new learning for maybe some of you. And now this is about planning. So planning in the long, medium, and short term. Now, of course, in respect to this module, long term, we mean 6 weeks. Medium, we might mean in the next week or so. And short term, we might mean this week or today even. The brief. The first technical module of your degree is designed to set you up with the skills to systematically work as a designer. It will require concentration, dedication, practice, and a desire to learn. It is very important. Those things are very, very key. It's not something you can just do by just showing up. Fashion Engineering 1 is a module dedicated to the practical vocabulary that you will draw upon in your future career. Throughout this module, you'll create a digital reference folder with a range of techniques, processes, and resources designed for you to refer back to in the future. Think of it as creating your own textbook on a range of different skills. Pattern cutting and construction techniques are the foundation stones on which fashion is built. So this is a bit like an architect learning how to build a house. This is what it is for fashion designers learning fashion engineering. So it's important that you know how to build your house, otherwise it'll fall down. It's important that you know how to create your garment or construct your garment, otherwise it won't work. Using techniques, you'll create toiles. Look, demonstrating. Okay, you'll create a toiled look, I think is what I'm saying here, demonstrating your understanding of technical processes. In parallel to this, you'll be developing the project management skills needed to succeed in one of the most fast-paced industries in the world. It's important that you engage and apply yourself to generating a work ethic that will take you forward, you can take forward with you. Now that sentence is basically this, is that you will get a whole bunch of techniques, and from those techniques we're going to ask you to create some toiles of a total look. But more importantly than that, not just making those things, is planning and documenting the whole lot, so that you're able to apply your skills to do it again in the future. Not just that you can do it, but you've learned how to do it. Remember, as always, we're focusing on learning, not just doing, but learning. Now that last one about creating a work ethic, that's really, really key. One of the things that sets fashion design students apart from many other types of students is their ability to work, their work ethic. They work very hard, they're dedicated to their work, and they can concentrate. That's something that doesn't just happen. You have to work on it. Like any other type of muscle or skill, it takes work. Let's look at materials. You'll engage with a range of materials and techniques. You'll be given instruction to help you understand materials and their properties. The presentation is brief. Your work will be presented as a total package in an appropriate format, clearly labeled with your name, student number, and module code. This will be uploaded to Blackboard as an editable PDF. Now, supporting this, you may want to hand in some physical work. So, for example, garments, etc. That is totally okay, and we'll talk about how we do that. But this is a digital submission. Accessing demonstration videos. All technical films can be found on Blackboard via FCI instruction and support. Hello, I'm going to show you how to navigate the FCI instruction and support. So as you know, I sent you a link on how to enroll into this particular module. So of course we're on Blackboard here, and you can see this is home. Now you can see all the different organizations I'm part of, but you won't have nearly as many as this. But you should definitely have the FCI instruction and support. If you don't have that, jump back through your emails and you'll find the link. I can't enroll you. You have to self-enroll, so it's a self-enrollment thing. Let's click on that. So once you click on this, you'll see same as any other Blackboard page, any announcements, that kind of stuff. And if we go into the site here, you'll see menu choice called content. So we'll just click on that. We can see we've got software tutorials, so you could use those for your courses. We've got animation, drama performance, film and media, photography, on-campus equipment tutorials, Connect to tutorials, that's how to borrow equipment. And then one for us is fashion. So we can see that we have Welcome to the Fashion Studio, which you've already watched. Equipment induction, the basics, garment construction, basic processes, fashion engineering 1, so lots of fashion engineering 1 stuff here. Garment discussion, the shirt, so talking about the shirt, and then engineering 2, which we'll be doing next term, tailoring, which we'll be doing next year, some fun projects for you to make, looking at new technologies, Clo 3D you'll be doing in a couple of years' time, and of course we've got fashion promo, doing some InDesign stuff. But if we click on a couple of these, so let's look at garment construction, basic processes. So we can see we've got some hand sewing there. Okay, insertion stitch, we've got flat open seams, you'll definitely be watching that. Flat open seams needing pinking shear, so all of these seam based videos will be ones that I'll be asking you to watch. So you can see they're around in a few different places. Let's just click back. Looking at fashion engineering 1, you can see looking at the pack that you've got, understanding the pack, that's an important one. Oh, it's going to start. Where your dart positions are, close fitting bodice draft. Let's have a quick go on one of these. That's what we're doing. Yes, it is. So I would say take some time to have a tinker through these videos. You'll definitely be asked to watch a bunch of them. I won't send you links to them all. I'll ask you to access them through this portal. So it's very important that you understand how to do that. Okay, back to the assessment. Your assessment will be twofold. Firstly, formatively through the development of a digital technical resource folder, which will include the following: class notes, a glossary of terms. Think, for example, leg of button sleeve. What is that? Who knows? Photographs of your work and of techniques. Video of your work and of techniques. Samples of the work that you're doing. Now, you may choose to do this physically and then photograph it and put it into your book, or you may choose to create a physical folder as well. Tests, now they'll go hand in hand with your samples. Reflections, so reflecting on every technique and every process. Patterns and constructions. Now this is where terminology differs slightly. So where I say constructions, I mean your draft patterns, your not final patterns. Now Sue might call these drafts, you might call them something else, but what we're looking for here is not just your final finished stuff. Think of this document a bit like your sketchbook. We want all the rough and tumble. So when we say constructions, we mean that we're looking for evidence that you know how to do the pattern alterations, not that you have an altered pattern at the end. Next, order of assembly and other instructions. Now this might be called something else, might be called pre-production in some documentation. Primarily in the UK, it's known here as pre-production or pre-prod. Basically, it is a list of the techniques and processes used to create a garment. So order of assembly and other instructions. So our instructions might include things like cutting instructions or finishing instructions or pressing instructions, anything like that. Technical drawings. So you'll be doing at least one technical drawing at the end of the module of your trials. I would recommend that you do incremental technical drawings as you go along in your brief, looking at your techniques, etc. Lastly, critical path and project management documentation. Now this is critically important. Now at the beginning of the academic year, I sent you out a calendar. That will be perfect for your long-term planning. Now, every week in the last module, I sent you out a task list. Now, it might be something you start to fill out, your own task list. You might start to fill out your own planning. Okay, secondly, your summative assessment, which will be a set of trials created utilizing the workshops and techniques developed during the module. These will include the following: a shirt and pair of trousers using the processes demonstrated. Okay, now when we say trousers, we're just going to say shorts. We really mean shorts for this particular module. There's no point in wasting a bit of extra fabric, but those two things are important. A technical specification pack for each garment. A set of final fully labeled pattern pieces for each garment. Demonstration, documentation, the management of the project in your digital technical file. So you might extend your technical file from your formative to your summative, and you might include the documentation of your management and your production of your shirt and trousers throughout your file. Your response to the brief will contain 2 stages. Okay, the first 3 weeks, stage 1, will be the shirt. This stage of the process is for planning out how you complete the learning and for laying down the foundation for your project management. At this stage, you should be breaking down tasks and planning in short, medium, and long term. Now, that's really as simple as, when are my due dates? What needs to be done first? So, for example, you can't put pressing at the very beginning of a project because pressing is what you do after you sew the garment. You know, those things are quite important. It might even be a list of what am I going to achieve today, or what do I think I can achieve today? And then a reflection on that list. What was I able to achieve today? What took longer than I expected? What can I then plan for the medium term? How will you document your work? Will you take handwritten notes or type? Physical documentation or digital? How will you lay your work out? This stage is also will also explore the components of a shirt and how the techniques developed can be used in a myriad of other garments. You will sample, reflect, and practice the construction. This stage is about trying and testing what you do in real life through a series of workshops and exercises. This will culminate in the completion of a shirt. Oh dear, I've written stage 3 here, but that's stage 2. So stage 2, trousers, approximately 3 weeks again. This stage of the process will explore the components of trousers and how the techniques developed can be used across a range of design contexts. You will sample, reflect, and practice the construction. This stage is about trying and testing what you do in real life through a series of workshops and exercises. This will culminate in the completion of a pair of trousers. Now that sounds very familiar. So the point is that we give you 2 goes at this. This stage is also where you reflect on your learning and document your findings, both in terms of techniques, but also in project planning, management, and learning. Take time to fully document your learning progress throughout the journey and draw from that learning to sum up your project. Now, I would probably recommend, as I've said before, that you will require at least an extra day a week to complete this learning. Let's take a look at your schedule here. Now you can see already we've got some work for you to do. We've got a lot of watching. Now these are very short videos, so don't stress about those, but this is something that either you should have already done or you should definitely do. This is transferring a half-scale block onto card. Now, lots of exercises in the session here, but they're very short exercises, so don't stress about those. So this is our first 3 weeks. This is the shirt, and then that will culminate in your formative assessment. And these are your second 3 weeks. These are your trousers, which will culminate in your final submission. Now, this is the last Friday before Christmas at 4 p.m. So because we used to have 3 groups and now we only have 2, you get a bit of an extra day. I would recommend handing anything physical in, obviously, at the end of your class, and then you can hand your final digital project in at the very end. So well done, you get an extra day. Let's take a look at your assessment. So we have the week commencing the 23rd to the 11th, digital technical resource folder, which includes the following: class notes, glossary of terms, photographs, video, samples, tests, reflections, pantsing instructions, order of assembly and other instructions, technical drawings, critical path and project management documentation. That's formative. Now you'll meet with me on a one-to-one for this tutorial session, and we'll go through each of these. It's very important that you're there. If you're not there, that is your choice. Now we're looking at your summative assessment, so we see 18th of the 12th, and you'll get your feedback on the 25th of January because of Christmas and all those kinds of things. A set of trials created utilizing the workshops and techniques developed during the module. This will include the following: a shirt and pair of trousers using the processes demonstrated, a technical specification pack for each garment, a set of final fully labeled pattern pieces, documentation of the management of the project recorded in your digital technical file. Summative. So this is digital photographs submitted as a PDF package. As I said here, this may be supported by the submission of your garments. Let's take a look at your assessment criteria. Now again, I would recommend that you spend some time reading this because this is what we use to test your work. So your first criteria: demonstrate an ability to apply a range of sewing and pattern cutting techniques to simulated industry standards. All right, so this is where we'll be looking at your technical resource folder, but also your documentation of your shirt and trousers. So very little evidence of technical competence or application. Now, notice the keyword here, evidence. So it's important that you document everything because that is what your evidence is, and we definitely don't want you to fail. Let's take a look at a third. Techniques application is compatible for the completion of a task within given tolerances. Great. So that means you can do it pretty much, or that you've provided evidence to say that you can do it. Let's jump to 2.1. That's quite a good one. Techniques are refined for the completion of the task well within given tolerances. So the fashion industry has specified tolerances for things like buttons and sewing and all that kind of stuff. So we will talk about that as we produce our work throughout the module, and that will give you an understanding. But let's jump to exemplar. That's all we want to be. Techniques are sophisticated and refined to achieve a high quality outcome to a simulated industry standard. Now that's where we all want to aim. Now you're probably not going to get that with everything, so that's okay, but that's where we want to aim. So that basically says that you've understood the techniques, you've applied them in the range of the places they're supposed to be applied, and you've practiced them enough that you're able to achieve a high quality outcome. Okay, next one here. This is all about your planning. So we'll find this in your documentation. Evidence to systematically plan and document the production process from initial idea to final product. Now, this is about your short term, your medium term, and your long term planning, but it must be documented. Could it be a calendar? Could be a Gantt chart. You'll get a video about that. It could be a million other different ways to document. It could be using a piece of software, for example. Let's take a look at a fail again. Limited evidence of planning or documentation of the subject. Okay. So again, notice that word evidence. Okay, look at the third. Work is planned, organised and sequenced, executed and documented in a clear and appropriate way. So that basically means that you're able to document and plan your work in a way that makes sense, makes logical sense, and results in the completion of a product. Let's jump to 2.1 again. That's a nice one. All project records are consistently detailed in content, complete, accurate, and show evidence of planning and reflection. So you'll be asked to plan each week and reflect each week. So this is where I would expect you guys to be as a minimum in your planning. But what would be wonderful is if you were here. Planning and documentation are consistently detailed, complete, clear, and show evidence of sophisticated planning and reflection. So that might be where you go back onto a technique and you try it again to try and refine it, to try and create a better outcome, or a high quality outcome, for example. Maybe you do some research into the industry, analyze some garments, and put that in your work to plan and map out a high quality outcome. Here is your indicative reading list. Of course, we'll be using the Winifred Aldrich pattern cutting for women's wear. There's the Hilary Campbell, of course, as well. And there's a million different books here. So even these pattern magic books are really, really exciting. The Drape books, Essential Guide to Stretch Pattern Cutting, Dresses, Leotards, Swimwear, Tops and More. All these fundamentals of fashion design. Check these out. These are all available in our library. And of course, this is where we can discuss modular evaluation, studio access, health and safety, and then a range of definitions, which you should already know. This is the same information that's in all your handbooks. Okay, this one is a bit of a full-on class, a full-on module, but if you keep swimming, you'll get to the end. Yeah, so the important thing to note with this is to keep going and to keep trying, to ask for help, and to make sure that, that you take advice. Thank you very much.